On this episode of Wild Woman, I'd like to proudly introduce Mia.
So my name is Maria Kelly. My nickname is Mia. My nickname was Mia growing up, and now I claim it as my artist name and healer name. I am an art model. I pose for 3 hours and artists draw me, and then I'm on my way. I am also a private yoga instructor and meditation coach. I am certified to teach multi-style yoga. I recently came back from India, in which I spent 5 weeks studying in India, 200-hour yoga teacher trainings. I do a lot of different things, but I want to say if I had to call myself 2 things, I am a healer and an artist. Well, I am in my childhood home right here. My childhood, for the most part, was fun, playful. I grew up in this household as an only child. Honestly, I loved being a child. Like, I loved it so much, and I was so aware of like how precious childhood is that when someone asked me when I was 5 years old, like, hey, are you excited to be turning 6? I think my birthday was coming up, or it was my birthday or something. Like, hey, are you excited? Are you excited you're turning 6? And I was like, no, I still want to be 5. Like, I remember always having that mentality. And maybe it was because I saw like a lot of pain in the adults I was around. So my mother and my stepfather fought a lot, and they were always arguing over money. They were always fighting about money. Yeah, it was hard, but at the same time, again, I just loved being so young. So if someone asked me truly how was being a child, I loved it. So I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I'm very glad that by the age of 14 or 15, I escaped that religion and that mentality. I definitely escaped. I maybe didn't escape in the most healthy ways. I just straight up escaped, but I'm glad that I got out because it wasn't for me. It wasn't for my spirit. I felt very restricted. I also felt I was definitely leading a double life in many moments throughout my childhood and throughout my young teenage years. I was definitely living a double life because you're not allowed to talk to or associate with worldly people according to that religion. I was definitely conditioned to not associate myself with certain people, and again, it was these certain people that weren't studying the truth or didn't believe in Jehovah. That was the big one. They were never like, okay, you can't associate yourself with boys, or they were never like, you can't associate yourself with people of a different color or whatever. It was just purely a spiritual thing. It was so very dualistic, and my current spiritual practice is regular yoga, regular meditation. I identify with Buddhist ideology. I do not label myself as a Buddhist, having gone through the process with that religion and definitely identifying as a Jehovah's Witness for so long, up until the age of 14, 15. I now live the rest of my life not identifying with anything. It's hard for me to even call myself a feminist, even though I definitely am a feminist, 100%. I'm so pro-fem, like it's insane, but at the same time, like I just have a hard time even identifying with anything really, because I want to remain open. Even sometimes it can be hard. I'm also vegan. It can be hard sometimes even just talking about like veganism, because that could be like a separation as well. So whatever like creates a separation between like you and your other fellow human, which I ultimately believe like that human is you, that human is a reflection of you. I truly come from the mindset of non-duality and that we are all one. So again, when you get to a mind concept like I am this, I am this, I am this, that's just the ego talking, and that's going to create more separation. So that is my spiritual practice now. That is what I root myself in now. That strong rooted sense of this inner world, this strong sense of like really loving myself and really, again, being able to sit with myself, that has actually always been with me, and that's only something I realized recently. I was reflecting back on when I was 10 years old, and I was actually taken away from my mother for child abuse. I was taken away for a couple of months. and it was more emotional, mental abuse. She didn't like give me any bruises or anything like this. It was just more so a chaotic living situation. The police came to the house and they took me aside. It was kind of like a movie moment. They're like, all right, has your mother been hurting you? Because if yes, I mean, we will take her, we will separate you two. And it was like a very serious moment. And I said yes, because I knew like she needed help. I wanted her to get away from me. I said yes. And I was sent to live with my grandfather. And my grandfather lives in this very boring house. So this big sense of this inner realm started developing at that tender age, because what did I have then in this house with these grandparents that I don't really connect well with, and I'm an only child, and I'm out in this suburb and they're driving me to school. You know, it was kind of, yeah, it was kind of depressing. And of course I did start to miss my mom. So again, what did I do? I started really getting into my creative realm. I started performing in front of the mirror. I started really admiring the butterfly clips in my hair, and I started really like, I don't know, just doing like runway walks in front of the mirror. I started listening to my cassettes on repeat. I had these certain cassettes in my cassette player, and again I would rewind it and fast forward and rewind and fast forward just so I could memorize the songs. And so I really started again performing. Even if I was just performing for myself, I was performing at the age of 10, and I loved the shows that I put on in front of the mirror, and I loved being expressive, and I loved being creative, and that is really what got me by in these months of being separated from my mother. I got this sense of having no sense of control, but what you can control, again, is how you react, how you respond. You can control what you create. So I started finding control in my inner realm, and how I was just as a human being, and how I was then connecting with others at school. I started to make a lot of friends at school, all this. So you might think you don't have control, but there's always a way to find control. I've been cut out for this line of work, for this healing path. I have always been cut out for it, because I have always been rooted in my sense of individuality, and I've always been rooted in this only childness, you know? It's like, okay, well, if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it by myself, you know? Like that's what allowed me to travel to Central America for 2 months by myself. I just up and booked a one-way ticket, and I was down there for 2 months, again, just like backpacking around, like solo female traveler. Like that's what's enabled me to do these sorts of things, because I didn't grow up with like brothers and sisters. I never had this codependent like mentality, like I need to do something with my best friend, or I need to do something, you know, with someone in order to get it done. It's like, no, if I want something, I'm just gonna get it done. I was in all of the plays in high school. I loved acting. I totally thought I was gonna be an actress. I totally thought it's written, I'm gonna be an actress, 100%, I'm meant to be an actress. And I was so dead set on going to the Conservatory for Dramatic Arts in New York City and studying there. It's a very expensive acting school, and they only accept like a certain amount of people throughout the country, and they did accept me. I did a great audition. I did one dramatic piece and then one comedic piece, one piece by Jim Carrey, and then one piece by Michelle Pfeiffer. And like I still remember that audition. I still remember being 18 years old and being accepted into this Conservatory of Dramatic Arts and thinking, oh my god, my life is gonna change, I'm gonna go study in New York City, blah blah blah. And yeah, my parents didn't end up supporting this decision. Like none of my family ended up supporting this. They're like, yeah, let's be real, you know? They're like, that's not gonna happen, you're not gonna be an actress. But I wanted it so bad. And see, that's the thing. If there's a will, there's a way. If you really want it, again, if that is your goal, if that's your dream, if you really are dead set on it, just fucking go get it. Like, go for it. So I continue to go for it. I continue to stay on the creative, artistic path. And I'm like, okay, again, if they're not going to support me, then I'm going to save up the couple $1,000s to get myself through Second City training. So Second City is an improv school, very, very famous improv school here in Chicago. I think I was working at like Famous Dave's Barbecue, so I was like working really hard, and I put myself through Second City, and I did all the improv training. I was able to start going on auditions, even though, again, okay, I'm not going to make it in an improv troupe, I'm going to try to make it into some other plays throughout Chicago. So again, I start auditioning, start putting myself out there, start getting comfortable in my talents and with who I was, and I put myself out there and I auditioned for the Big Lebowski Burlesque. This is a show put on by Budzilla Productions, and at the time I didn't even know what burlesque was, and I was 20 years old, and said bring a character that you think you can pull off, and I brought my Tara Reid character because Tara Reid was in that movie, and I'm like, sure, I guess I could play Tara Reid, and I showed up and I played my Tara Reid, and she hired me, she loved me, but she hired me as a backup dancer, and I was like, whoa. But I don't like professionally dance. Like, I mean, I could dance, again, I could jam in my room, I could like put on a show for my mirror, but like professionally dance, whoa. And I stayed open, I stayed curious, and bam, turns out I became a professional burlesque dancer, and I was able to then travel throughout the country. I was then able to live out my creative dreams through burlesque. I played like a Marilyn Monroe character, I played Eve in the Garden of Eden, so that plays on like my religious upbringing. So I got like pretty evil with that because I was like Eve in the Garden of Eden, like dancing to Marilyn Manson. So again, I was able to like get really creative with these characters, the Marilyn Monroe, the Eve, the Barbie. I even like played a Barbie in this one burlesque act. But yeah, I was able to like step into these different characters. So see, I still found my way to acting. Okay, even if I'm not going to be a professional actress or that's not working out for me, like I'm going to make it work. And if that means putting pasties on and like learning how to go-go dance, I'm gonna make it work. And so I love that, you know, anyone in this world that like really wants something and they're just able to like make it work even though it's not like working 100% of the way, it's like, dude, the effort's there, like you're trying, you're just like, you're putting your all into it, and that's fucking awesome. And looking back, like that's 100% what I did, and that's freedom, you know, that is like the American dream, to like get paid doing what you love. So I did that for all those years, and now I'm like really like, wow, like I'm in a more grounded place, again doing yoga and like meditation all the time, but it's like, wow, I'm still that girl, you know, I'm still definitely that burlesque dancer, and I feel like I have been trying to deny that because I've taken a break on it for like a couple of years, you know. I can't ignore that she's still there, you know, and she still wants to like break free and put on the pasties again. I was involved in a very creative world. I was immersed in it. I was living with artists. I was breathing art. I was doing it like full time with some side jobs. Granted, again, I still art model and I still do creative photo shoots and I still have that side to me, but I feel like the reason why I took kind of a break these past couple of years and why that side to me maybe isn't so strong anymore is because I saw a lot of toxicity. My first spiritual awakening was at 23, and that was when I clearly recognized that I have a drinking problem. Like it was clearly like bold in my face. I totaled my car from drinking and driving. So yeah, I started having all these health problems around the age of 25, 26, and I started realizing like, wait a minute, these health problems aren't even just what I'm putting in my body, but it's also my environment as well, and lifestyle as well. So it was like the lifestyle of being out all the time and being up till 3 a.m., 4 a.m., surrounding myself with the people I was surrounding myself with. There's so many creative artists where, again, it's like creativity and addiction go hand in hand, and it's almost like overlooked in that industry. It's almost cool to be substance abusing. It is. It's totally like, yeah, socially, it's the norm, you know, no one's gonna like pull you aside and be like, hey Joe, I'm like really concerned. You've been out till 4 a.m. the last 4 nights in a row. I'm like really concerned. Like no one's gonna say that to you. Again, the support system that you're in is a support system of toxicity. And again, at least that was my perspective. Like I have met people in the entertainment industry. There are definitely people that do it, but unfortunately because I'm like highly sensitive and creative, and I have it in my bloodline of being an addict, I succumbed to that lifestyle, and I was finally honest enough with myself around between the ages of 23 and 25. I became like fully honest with myself, where it's like, wow, I do need help. Like, wow, I do need to work on myself. I became vegan, I quickly became sober, I quickly up and backpacked around Central America for 2 months, you know, I just started making all these drastic changes. But again, I feel like that girl, that beautiful woman who was out there, putting herself out there and being so creative and joyful and doing so and having the pasties on and everything, like that girl, that woman can't absolutely die just yet, you know. I understand like she needed a break, and I needed to refocus my life and like where it's actually headed. I can be a burlesque performer, I can be a go-go dancer, I can be an art model, I can be whoever I want to be professionally and still be a healer and a helper and a yogi. I do not have to think that I'm living like a double life. Like when I was younger, again with the Jehovah's Witness religion, and like talking to other more worldly people who were atheists, who didn't believe in God, who were just, again, just whatever, and I was like shunned for even associating with them or talking to them. So then again, I literally started living a double life. Well, I'm over that. Like, I'm not living a double life anymore. I'm accepting all parts of me, because I have a lot of different parts and a lot of different layers to myself. Like, preparing for this interview and going through all these different questions and all these different things that have come up throughout my lifeline and what I've been through. I mean, there's just so much, it's so dense. So not a single life is perfect. Not a single life is just a single straight line. We all go through so much, and it's all about incorporating and becoming whole. I've rarely met anybody in this lifetime, I've rarely met anybody who has come to an awakening or spiritual awakening of sorts who have not gone through intense amount of suffering. So it's always the suffering that will guide the way and like lead you to this light. And if I didn't have the years of substance abuse, like if I didn't have the years of running from my true self, if I didn't have the years of just addiction in general, whether it be drugs or alcohol or sex or whatever, or, you know, just dating a bunch of people just to date a bunch of people, if I didn't have all those years of being like so scattered and so sloppy and so external in all of my desires, then I would have never been led to my inner realm and all of the potential that I have within myself and not outside of myself. Dr. Gabor Mate, he has this book called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts, and what a way to call an addict a hungry ghost. You know, it's like this ghost with a big bloated belly and a scrawny neck and unable to feed its insides no matter how much it eats, because he's always taking from the external realm, but he's never looking within, and he's a hungry ghost. So I love Dr. Gabor Mate and what he has as his vision in terms of addiction and in terms of compassion for addicts, because our society and the way our political system is set up, our social system is set up, there is no compassion there. You see an addict, a drug user, a heroin user, oh, shame on them, how could they continue to do heroin? It's like, what about the pain? What about the suffering that they went through? So I am now in a compassionate place where I can look back on my suffering, where I can look back on my childhood, where my parents, who have also endured pain, my parents are not perfect, just because this happened to me, okay, what did they go through? You know, it's just passed on pain through generations. Any pain that comes up, I sit with it. You know, if I have to cry, I'm crying in my car for 10 minutes and I'll just cry, it's fine. I don't need to cry in my car for 10 minutes and then call 10 different friends and be like, oh my god, this just happened to me, and then, oh my god, he said that, or no. I could just cry, root myself in the pain, acknowledge it, come back into my room, sit here on my meditative cushion, sit, internalize it, understand that I'm still alive, I'm still breathing, I still have so much, you know, even when the pain is there. There are different ways, and I'm speaking now like more as a coach, more as like a, I don't know, like a speaker, like you could do it too, because again, I have been there, I've been through hell and back, and I know that like pain is no big deal, suffering is no big deal, it's just a concept in our head, and I've had my fair share, and it's because of my creativity, it's because of my sensitivity, it's because of the living environment that I was raised in that led me to constantly escape through alcoholism, through drugs, through sex, through parties, and again, it just all was like, dude, that way of life is not gonna fucking work anymore. It's not. There's gonna be a breaking point, and if you're on that path of like escaping through other things, there might be a breaking point for you too, and thank goodness for that. You know what? I want to perform again, so I'm getting in a place where it's like, okay, I'm definitely like I'm ready. Like I'm ready to really step into this creative side again and continue to be all that I can be, you know, because in the healing process I feel like I've like held myself back in some ways, like, oh well, I can't do that, oh I can't. There's been a few years in which I'm still in that mindset, oh well, I can't do that, I can't. And now I'm just like in this world where like I could do anything. I'm very, very glad to share all of this right now. I'm very, very glad. I'm working on getting back into my creative shoes again, and I'm putting myself out there, and I'm putting myself out there by even doing this, so yeah.